Welkom terug. As die melk in die yskas af is, gooi ons dit bloot weg sonder om 2 keer daaroor te dink. En tog is die omgewingsimpak daarvan om 'n liter melk te produseer veel groter as wat jy sou dink. Klimaatsverandering is een van die grootste en dringendste kwessies van ons tyd en die produksie van kos is een van die grootste bydraende faktore.
Dis hoekom Woolworths in vennootskap met die Wêreld Natuurlewe Fonds gegaan het om die lewensiklus van melk te ondersoek. Van die melkery tot die verpakking en vervoer daarvan tot by die winkelrak en jou huis. Bonnie was net so verbaas soos ons om te sien hoe kosbaar elke druppel melk is en het gaan ondersoek instel.
We've heard a lot these days about climate change. I had always thought this was all due to carbon dioxide, which is given off when burning fossil fuels. But I was surprised to learn that the production of food that we eat is also one of the big contributors to this problem. So let's look at a product that most of us drink every day. Milk. We pour it onto our cereal, we add it to our coffee. But have you ever really stopped to think about the impact that the production of such a product has on the environment? Greenhouse are carbon footprint experts and were recently commissioned by the WWF to conduct a study to better understand the life cycle of milk. What exactly is a life cycle assessment study and what does it involve?
A life cycle assessment study quantifies the environmental impact of a product over its entire supply chain, so that's from cradle to grave. We do such studies so that we can identify the best opportunities for improvement.
For a product like milk, the life cycle would start at the farm, but it would also consider the impact that the packaging, processing, distribution, retail and the consumer have on the carbon footprint of that product.
For the Worldwide Fund for Nature, it's really important for us to understand how food is produced, processed and consumed in order to identify where the leverage points are for sustainable production and sustainable consumption. We also understood that the dairy industry, particularly in the Western Cape, a biodiversity-rich area, is intensifying and expanding. So before engaging with the industry and with the market, we wanted to understand what the issues were and where the opportunities and the risks sat.
Rhodes Dairy Farm in Groot Drakenstein was one of the 5 farms which were included in the life cycle assessment study and supplies its Ayrshire milk to Woolworths. Why did Rhodes Dairy Farm get involved with this project?
Well, we're always looking at, as part of our strategy, to continuously improve on our operations and business. And then we thought to roll it out in terms of environment and also the carbon footprint. And that's why when we were approached, it fits perfectly with our strategy.
From the farm, the milk is pasteurized, bottled and delivered onto the supermarket shelves. And in order to evaluate and monitor this part of the process, WWF and Greenhouse teamed up with Woolies. Why did Woolworths get involved with the study?
It was an opportunity for us to really understand the impacts of the dairy farming industry and also to be part of the first full life cycle assessment study in South Africa as part of our broader partnership work with WWF. A key part of our Good Business Journey program is to focus on sustainable farming and to have the right information available to make really informed decisions about what the key areas are that we need to focus on.
After evaluating the full life cycle of milk, the study identified a few key areas which were responsible for the largest contribution of greenhouse gas emissions.
Somewhat as expected, we found the farm dominates the environmental impacts. So it accounts for about 60% of the carbon footprint and more than 95% of the water and land impacts. What was interesting for us was to see how we differed from studies done in the rest of the world. And we found that the processing of the milk and retail and the consumer contributed proportionally more possibly than we were expecting, and we attributed that to the very carbon intensive electricity we have here in South Africa.
If you consider that it takes 1,000 litres of water to produce 1 litre of milk, you understand that the waste of milk going sour in the bottle or in the cereal bowl has significant implications, and our message would really be to people to cherish what's in the bottle.
By knowing which parts of the process have the largest impact on carbon footprint, It's possible to put all the energy and all the focus into improving those ponds and ideally leading to a drop in greenhouse gas emissions. Tony, what did this study highlight for you as a farmer?
Well, I highlighted the fact that 60% of the carbon footprint sits on the farm, and we found that it would be important for us to address these issues. We looked at the feed for the animals, we looked at the separation of stormwater and effluent so that we could reuse the water, and those are some of the aspects that we found important to reduce the carbon footprint and then rolling it out to the operations.
Justin, what were the key findings for Woolies and what are you doing currently to improve the carbon footprint?
We've really understood, South African example of our own suppliers now, what the key impacts are across the whole life cycle of dairy. And it's pointed out to us that our key focus needs to be on the farm, because those are where the biggest carbon and water impacts are. So we're working with our suppliers at the moment to really push water efficiency, look at wastewater management issues as well, and what goes into the feed of the cows themselves. From our own perspective, things like refrigeration in store are also really crucial because of the high carbon impacts of South Africa's electricity system. So we're working to retrofit our stores for more efficient refrigeration and also look at using natural gas refrigeration in all our new stores.
And the study also highlighted that one of the hotspots lies with us, the consumers of milk. It's not only up to the retailers and the farmers to make a difference, there are things that we can do too, by planning our shopping properly, so we don't make unnecessary trips to the shop, making sure our fridges run smoothly and efficiently, not wasting milk, but recycle our packaging. Fact is, we can make a real change to the carbon footprint of products like milk.
The biggest value of doing these sort of carbon audits is that it really forces you to look at all your processes in a very detailed way. It's a very useful business exercise.